Digital twins. The hype has been there for many years, but has the model really lived up to expectations? Let's find out. In its simplest form, let's take the example of an elevator. An elevator which has a digital twin would have data constantly flowing from the real world counterpart to the virtual world, and maybe allow you to see how many times that elevator has been operated during the day. What are the frequencies or timelines in which the elevator is operated the most? But these are just bare basics. In a larger sense, and maybe in a more sophisticated sense, it would also help you automate certain functions within the elevator. For example, let's say the elevator has a certain load capacity and people are not complying to it. A digital twin may reflect back how many times people have not complied to it within a week or within a month. Another example would be if there are constant elevator breakdowns, like there's a breakdown in the elevator right outside my house almost every other month. A digital twin will not just be able to inform you about the elevator breakdown, it would also be able to find out the reasons why these breakdowns occur over a period of time, helping you understand patterns and hopefully build better workflows so that these do not occur again and again. All of this sounds fantastic, but here comes the problem with digital twins. There's often a lot of confusion in terms of what constitutes a digital twin, a digital double, a digital human, and people almost interchange these terms as and when required. But there are also bigger problems. So let's say you're already familiar with the concept of point clouds and point cloud reconstruction of a specific building, whether it's a historical archive or it's a current building that's in operations. Well, through point cloud reconstruction, you can actually get a very detailed 3D model of a building or any site. However, this has been taken to an extreme level by certain evangelists who claim this itself is a digital twin, which it is not because it lacks the very specific thing that makes a digital twin unique: transfer of data between the real world and the virtual world. I myself am seeing a growing case of people using Cesium or Google Cloud, reconstructing something in Unreal Engine and calling it a digital twin. There are other examples too, where people will just take point cloud reconstructions, send it to a team in China. The Chinese team would really make it look amazing, and then this would be repackaged as an AI-based digital twin, which is completely untrue because the AI is actually a bunch of artists and engineers who are working very hard in China or India. So there is a lot of misinformation in this space, which makes it a lot harder to invest in a field like digital twins. Now, let's be clear, digital twins are very expensive to make. To give you some context, to make a good digital twin, you might need programmers, technical artists, designers, project managers, business development people, all in one team. It is very similar to building a game team. And all of these will be divided into smaller functionalities and even specialization. To work with such a team over 2, 3 years can get very expensive, especially if you are looking at 3D as a source of digital twin. This is a long-term investment. It's not something that's going to pay off in 6 months or 8 months. Even if you're doing something like this in 2D, it would require you to build up an entire team from scratch. This means patience is required, and this patience can stretch up to years. Sometimes just doing a proof of concept, doing something very small and proving it may serve you a lot better than trying to build an entire city as a digital twin, which is mostly a failure. Then comes the problem of use cases. Digital twins are unique in a way that every organization has a very specific use case. People are still trying to understand the patterns between these use cases. So you might go to organization A, who might have a very operational use case, as opposed to going to organization B, which might have a use case which is more reliant on predictions. So can you really productize a digital twin? This is a question the industry has been trying to ask. Now, this is very different from, let's say, productizing a tool like reality capture, which is used for photogrammetry and can largely reconstruct large buildings to very small elements like a cup based on point cloud information. That is amazing, and it's being used by games for many years. The novelty of seeing a digital twin in a 3D space may wear off very quickly. If this cannot be scaled up over the years to really make it interesting for an organization to engage with. The initial idea of getting into VR, exploring a digital twin, may suffice for an innovation day or to show it to stakeholders. But in the long term, we really have to ask, how much value does this really add? Then there's the whole concept of smart cities, which got really popular a few years ago. But while we were so busy chasing smart cities, no one really asked, what's the problem statement? What are the problems we are trying to solve? And how do digital twins actually come into the picture? Having gone to a lot of these smart city conferences, I've seen that a lot of this is huff and puff. And usually it comes down to vendor based solutions, which are good, again, to spend a little bit of extra budget that a company has left over, but not really to do anything long term, which will really help in operations. Now, one of the things I've noticed, unfortunately, is the ethics within the digital twin industry. While there are some players who genuinely want to make a difference in the world, there's also the fact that there are a lot of players who are essentially cheating investors. To give you my own example, I was actually working in an organization where a CTO essentially told us to remove any Unreal Engine references from the digital twins we were creating so that he could go into other meetings and say that it was their own platform, a platform which wasn't built at all. So for 6 months to a year, they sold the idea to investors and to everyone who wanted to work with us that they have this amazing platform where in the back end, all we were doing were using third-party tools. This is not just a case where I went into a company and I got unlucky. This is quite rampant in the digital twin industry, where people are passing off other people's work as their own, or people are passing off, like I said initially, just photogrammetry models, polishing them up, doing some great After Effects work on it, and saying that this is actually data captured in real time. All of this has obviously created a little bit of a pushback from stakeholders because once you're burnt, you will obviously not want to be burnt again and again. The other important thing to understand is understanding the problem statement really well. A lot of times digital twin products kind of skip over the problem statement to show a fancy rendering of a 3D world or, like I said, an After Effects showreel. I think it is really important to work alongside stakeholders who are on the floor to really understand what are the problems that they face in operation on a day-to-day basis and how you're going to solve this problem through automation in digital twins. Something I'm very excited about is predictive analysis. So for example, if I run a digital twin, let's say for 2 years, can I collect data through machine learning over these 2 years that help me as an operator to make better decisions for the future? In retail, this could be based on store management. In airports, this could be based on where the crowds gather at peak periods and otherwise. I think there's a lot of potential to digital twins when used the right way. If you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing. I intend to share my knowledge on all these different topics, whether it's games, experience design, VR, twins, or emerging technology as a whole. I don't claim to know everything, but what I do claim to do is give my honest opinion on all of this. Until next time, I'll see ya.